what I'm hoping people who are on their journey from conservative to leftist, that directional, that vector of pipeline, can get a sense for how fucking violent liberals are. The liberal establishment, the Joe Biden defenders, these people, the ones that get upset when you point out how terrible Joe Biden's economy is, and because they think that the stats show that it's not. These types, and the types that went to that pro killing children rally the other day. I'm using that language very specifically. That Van Jones spoke at, some evil like Christian evangelical pastor John Hagee spoke at. I don't have videos or anything for that stuff. Yeah. But and someone tweeted a picture of the crowd, and it was there was very little brown in that crowd. All very light colored, a lot of white faces in that crowd. So predictably, the side I'm on, and the lefties and the kind of anarchist, socialist, communist, leftists, this side of the aisle, the further than progressive, I guess. I don't know. These labels are all sort of fungible and silly anyway. And they definitely mean different things to people like myself, who are like politics junkies and, Twitter junkies who FOMO, fear of missing out their way, and watch all this stuff all the time. I've been doing so for 20 plus years, and I've worked in digital media for the last 10 or 12 years or so, very off and on. But yeah, so we're going to use labels probably in a different way than like someone who's just not really paying that close attention. I just wish I could be one of those people. The people that are like surprised that there's an election in like September, like next year, 2024, in September rolls up and it's like presidential debate. What the? Oh my God. Election. Hey, honey, they're doing another election in November, I guess. I don't know. Who do we vote for? I would love to be one of those people. Just be some fucking weirdo with like enough money to sustain some strange hobby in a basement. That's all which for me would be woodworking. I just want to build things. I want to build cool trays. Look at how beautiful this tray is. Hoping, I think as leftists, we should try to accommodate the liberal perspective in order to, that's not the right way to phrase that, but for some of them, it might be their first time learning that this is how our world is. I think that's a lot of the ways that I know for myself too, like the way I've kind of, journeyed from growing up in an ambiently conservative household. My dad's still conservative Republican guy. And then like, I was never overtly like, I'm a conservative, but I hated the Democrats. I knew they sucked. That's all I understood about conservatism anyways, like a kid. And I started thinking for myself at a pretty young age, and, like became an atheist pretty easily, like 12, like just a few months of like a month or two of like going, like looking up in my head and going, yeah, that doesn't make, why would I believe? Yeah. Cause all these adults so far just seem like fucking wackos anyway. Yeah. That's bullshit. So that's, and then over time from that whole pipeline into just being kind of like always generally progressive brain. It's one of the reasons I was like a Young Turks fan back in the 2008, 2009 time period, before I moved to LA to work for them. And but then that, like, TYT is kind of a cul-de-sac in a sense. They sort of my not that I necessarily expected this or wanted this or was even searching for it, but this journey sort of runs into that. Okay, you work at TYT, progressive guy, progressive outfit. Not as much as they like to pretend, I would argue, now that I've worked there and had some issues with them, especially with the union busting. But it wasn't until I actually got some experience working for them, and then kind of pulled left further by Michael Brooks. Honestly, huge influence in that sense. If you haven't heard of him, I'm sure you have. You probably, if you're listening to this, you know who Michael Brooks is. He was on the Majority Report. Really smart, thoughtful guy. Had a good show, and I knew him personally a little bit, not extensively, but and that's what kind of helped crack open my consciousness about labor and about the history. And then you start to learn more about the history of America's foreign policy and its involvement with right-wing dictatorships all over the world, and why it's, and so then the whole like critique of capitalism emerges, and you see, oh, Marxism is okay. now I didn't take like very quickly when I learned about Marxism, and there's still a lot more for me to learn. I haven't done all the reading and theory and bullshit like that. I've listened to a million podcasts, read a whole bunch of stuff, but very early in being exposed to that, I quickly was like, oh, now I know why they were afraid I would learn that. That's the shit I've been thinking about, like, kind of, not all, obviously not like, but like, oh, that makes all of it just intuitively I get, because I've been kind of annoyed that I have to go fucking work for some dickhead since I was like a teenager. Like, what the fuck? I'm running around doing shit and you're making money? What the fuck is this? That's bullshit. And now I'm here. And I center a lot of my politics around labor and work. I find the conversation around work incredibly fascinating. Why am I going through all this? I want liberals to be pulled to the left, I guess. I don't like these strict labels, even though I've been using them. But I think it's this, even though we're rightfully horrified that so many liberals are racist, bloodthirsty fucking freaks that are seeing what's happening. Now, we also have to remember that they're likely consuming a media diet that is not showing them all that stuff, or that is giving them the very biased versions of it. And it has seemed like the media has come in back a little bit, not a lot. Anderson Cooper had a nurse on who had been in Gaza. I did bookmark that, but we're not going to play that today. And so it does seem actually a little bit that they're starting to like kind of show this stuff, because you can't escape it. They're doing this though, and that's what's one of the fucking most terrifying things is when the killer turns the lights off. And that's what they're trying to do when they turn off internet in Gaza, and when they try to shut down the information and the access to knowledge. They don't want outsiders to see what they're doing. That's when you're the bad people. And so what I hope though is that this is hopefully radicalizing for some liberals. Maybe they don't end up radicalized exactly where I am or where others are, or where people further to the left of me are, but at least you got to stop and look around yourself if you're a liberal person, and look around you at all these fucking frothing at the mouth freaks who call themselves liberals, who are cheering on this violence that we're seeing, this attack, and why your media doesn't tell you the truth. That's like, start paying attention to that kind of thing if you're on the liberal side of this. I'm not even, because our liberal institutions, I mean, just look how readily the Democratic Party welcomed Rick Wilson and Steve Schmidt and these like conservative operators, because they know that they can continue the capitalist grift of, being very highly well-paid political operatives for Democrats, because they just shifted from their conservative, they didn't really change their masters. Their masters are still the industry titans that control this whole thing, and they go after Trump fairly effectively. I mean, there's a whole podcasting industry and a whole little, and there should be, honestly. That's another thing this whole mess is about, is how well are we assessing the threat that Trump poses? And I think it's incredibly threatening for the guy. It's amazing. This weird, crazed person under 91 indictments. He's likely facing prison for conviction if he's convicted of some of those, and there's civil trials for rape, and there's a fraud trial going on right now that he testified at and his children had to testify at. And yet this guy's running for president, and he's allowed to run after trying to overthrow the government, and that he is winning so far, at least in most polls. It shows Biden losing to him. There's so many reasons why that's absurd, but also terrifying, and that they're promising to end democracy. They're kind of like, Americans are just basically like, well, yeah, Biden sucks, so might as well just. And so now, and now with the Israel-Palestine situation, Biden has made it even harder to justify voting for him. I mean, I put that in a very careful way. So a lot of people are already highly against voting for Biden. That's another major conversation happening within the lefty world right now. Third party, should you support? Should you vote? Should you do this? Should you vote for Biden? Should you not vote for Biden? What does all that mean? Blah, 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 blah. That conversation is going to go on for a while. But for some people, Biden helping slaughter children in the thousands. They're aiming for tens of thousands. If we don't stop them, they will continue. It will reach tens of thousands of dead children. There's a horrifying bar chart that I've been seeing popping up about the rate of child deaths in different wars, and this one is is this immense, tall, yellow bar at 3,300. It's like this amazing amount. And these other wars, very tragic too, but their rate was so low compared to what they're doing now. And it's, oh God. So how can Biden persuade people that this doddering old guy who seems afraid to be I don't know when he's supposed to be out there actively campaigning. There'll probably be some event here and there. It's clearly going to be something they're going to have to juice him up with horse tranquilizer or some kind of stimulant, or I don't know what, some kind of cocktail of medicine to get him out in the public and get, because it's going to, and then definitely going to be gaffe moments that are going to get picked up on. And the media is I think, very unfair towards Democrats comparatively to how they cover conservative stuff. And so they're going to pounce on all that shit. And it's a very uphill fight for this. And it's scary to have this guy leading it. But now that he's a genocide, he's committing genocide, it's even harder. Let's just hear what he says here. I sorry about all this ramp up. This. What are we at? 30 minutes already? Good. Show's just about to start. That's nice. Good job, Hank.
Have you expressed any specific concerns to Israel on that, sir?
Well, I have not been reluctant in expressing my concerns what's going on. And it's my hope and expectation that there will be less intrusive action relative to the hospital. I remain somewhat hopeful, but the hospital must be protected.
Whoa, so strong. What a strong guy. Less intrusive action, he says. Less intrusive action. Nice camera work there, guy. Swiped it over to Nora O'Donnell, I think her name is. The hospital. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Meanwhile, there was a whole news cycle before this one, a different hospital, where hundreds of people were killed. That, they did this whole, no, Israel didn't actually do, that's not, how dare you? You're like, they go after you for speaking about for responding to what's clearly happening. And meanwhile, they're threatening to bomb hospitals. They're bombing other hospitals. They're bombing bakeries. They're bombing water supply places. They're blowing up journalists. I think that's one of the most fucking scariest ones. Like, where the hell are all these other? Why isn't the journalism world? This just goes to show you the degree of buy-in that journalists have. I know I retweeted it, so let me just go to mine real quick. This guy, yeah, I mean, but a whole bunch of other journalists have been killed. This is Israel just killed Gaza journalist Ahmad Fatima. In 37 days, Israel's targeted and murdered 49 Palestinian journalists. In many cases, Israel has also targeted and killed their families. Genocide wants no records. I mean, that's turning the lights off. That's the killer turning the lights off. And then all you can do is hear the killer's breath and their footsteps in the dark, because they don't want anybody to see what they're doing. So they're killing fucking journalists. They're just blowing them up, and they're killing their whole family, their entire home. I can't watch half of that. I mean, I don't click on most videos that come across the timeline. I've seen more dead kids, more dying babies in the last 2 or 3 weeks, thanks to America, thanks to the Israeli government. And it's a fucking horrifying nightmare. I just don't have any idea. Sorry, I didn't know why I scrolled. This actually is an interesting one. I want to read that eventually. But the radicalization of the liberal that I'm hoping for, that comes from this. I don't mean all of them. That'd be fine, but it just can't be all of them. It's unlikely to be as much as 20% even, but 10%. I mean, some percentage of liberals have got to be on their vector moving towards this and realizing that, oh, wait a minute, like, we're just the country that just does this. We park up our big boats all over the Middle East, and then when this all shit went down, we moved even closer. And we're just this massive guerrilla, very, very strong, very dangerous. You do not attack an American flotilla. I feel like that's a word you use on like debutante parades, not military. But you just to deter any attacks from other nations nearby that might want to stop the genocide, that might want to stop what's happening. And yet we just stand there. And then Biden tweeted something, which I don't have the image of, that we had saved. No, that's okay. Let me here. At POTUS, as of today, we've helped 22 children undergoing cancer treatment in Gaza travel to continued treatment, and will continue facilitating care for more children outside of Gaza. This wouldn't have been possible without coordination between the U.S. regional partners and St. Jude. Empire Files, really good show you should listen to. You've killed 5,000 kids in Gaza, but gave aid to 22. I mean, they're like, what does he think he's getting? Who does he think he's persuading with this kind of stuff? You've helped 22. You're empowering, starving them to death, slaughtering them, and thousands are dead, crushed and killed. There's one story of it's so hard to of these this family with all their stuff. So their people are fleeing in droves. They're trying to get away from this stuff. Not everybody's leaving. It's horrifying no matter what, because they're getting killed. If they stay, they're getting killed as they're walking away, and they're getting killed where they're going. It must be utterly fucking terrifying to be a Palestinian trapped in Israel right now. Sorry, this one family, they're carrying a toddler, and the report, the journalist who wrote about it was saying, like, they didn't realize that the kid was dead. The kid had died while they were walking, and they were just still holding the body. It's just fucking so fuck. Like, it's okay. I'm not going to cry. I want to, but the nervous systems, like this, the unending terror and fear, and the completely maxing out trauma that's happening to these nervous systems, to these kids, to these babies, to these boys and girls, to these children and teenagers and men and women and everybody. This is this is just like this massive bomb of pain and terror and suffering, aside from the acute risks and you could get your head. I mean, they're shooting nurses through windows in these hospitals. There's I don't know if I have it ready here, of a guy, chubby old guy with a cane, and the IDF tweeted a photo of an Israeli soldier with him, walking, and that they tweeted the image to propagandize that this guy was helping this old dude. The guy turned up a bullet to the back of the head, dead. They fucking just, I mean, this is like when you watch Schindler's List and you see there's that scene. I was thinking of where the Nazis have the Jewish folks in a long line, and one guy doesn't have an arm, he's disabled, missing an arm. He's trying to prove that he can shovel, that he's useful still, and they just kill him. I mean, what do you do? That's what they're doing. They're just killing people. They're just dragging people away, and they're killing people. So anyway, God, see how I